Okay, we're live. I will include this in my announcements. I will include this in my announcements. Good morning, and welcome to the First Universalist of Church of Yarmouth. My name is Kai. I am a member of the Worship Council, and I'm the one who screwed up our stream this morning. So I apologize for all of you who logged in early or were hoping to listen to Sam's lovely music. I'm so happy to be greeting you this morning live. Finally, we are live. It is good to be together. Welcome. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. Before our service begins this morning, I have the following announcements. Share some you love this Valentine's Day season with our Valentine postcard exchange. This afternoon, members of our Congregation Connections Committee will be outside our church handing out packets with 5 postcards, stamps, stickers, and a list of 5 names from our directory. Due to impending snow, we will be handing out Valentine's packets slightly earlier than planned today, from 12:45 to 1:30. If you can't make it to pick up postcards, email Gwen and one of our friendly Congregation Connections members may be able to deliver it to your home. Do you like to explore spiritual practices, ponder theological questions, build community, and make new friends? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you might consider joining a First U small group. Small groups are regularly occurring meetings of a small number of committed folks from our church who gather to check in with one another and discuss and explore life experiences and spirituality. This year, all small groups are meeting online, and currently there are a number of openings in our small groups for new members. Email Reverend Hillary if you are interested in joining or learning more about our small group ministry. And those are our announcements this morning. So now, take a deep breath and settle into this different but still sacred space and time we create together each week. Reverend Hillary will lead us into our worship.
Thank you, Kai. And please don't ever apologize for any technical fiascos that occur this year. I so appreciate what you do every single Sunday morning. So thank you. And good morning, everyone else. How are you? It's good to be with you this Sunday. Did anyone else just learn yesterday that today is Super Bowl Sunday? I mean, as soon as I learned it, it all made sense, but I had no idea. Time these days, where does it go? And really, what is it at this point? Whew. At any rate, My name is Reverend Hilary Collins-Gilpatrick. I'm the minister of First Universalist, Yarmouth, Maine, and it's with joy that I say, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, whatever you've done, whether you wake up every morning and know exactly what day, time, and date it is, or whether you're just grateful to wake up each morning, you are welcome here, and we're so glad you're here. My friends, if you didn't know, today is Sunday, February 7th, 2021. It is the first Sunday of our month where we will reflect on the theme of beloved community, a theme that segues gracefully from imagination, which was our January congregational theme. Beloved community is a society where, as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. explained, there are no distinctions between friend and enemy, where all people are loved for their sakes, where goodwill is given to all, by all. Building this beloved community requires imagination, right? Imaginings that we will live our lives in hopes of making real. Our congregation here at First U provides a beautiful practice ground to hone our beloved community skills as we continue to make our wildest dreams of a fair, just, and loving world real. Throughout the next few weeks, our ideas of beloved community will expand and contract. Next Sunday, for instance, we'll go big with beloved community, joining UUs from across the continent and live streaming a Side with Love service offered by the UUA. This Sunday, though, we're going to keep it simple and consider how we, as individual people, can work to create beloved community in our own day-to-day pandemic homebound lives. Our opening words this morning are from the Catholic priest, theologian, and professor Henry Nouwen, whose books on pastoral care are beloved and well-worn by ministers across many faiths. Of beloved community, Nouwen writes, "Community is first of all a quality of the heart. It grows from the spiritual knowledge that we are alive, not for ourselves, but for one another. Community is the fruit of our capacity to make the interests of others more important than our own. The question, therefore, is not how can we make community, but how can we develop and nurture giving hearts?" My friends, our worship this beloved Community Sunday, February 7th, 2021, has begun. As I light the bright and burning symbol of our faith, won't you join me in our chalice lighting words? We light our chalice in peace and friendship. Our opening hymn is one of my all-time favorites, number 388, Dona Nobis Pacem, Give Us Peace.
So for this hymn, it's traditionally a round. If you're singing along at home, you can either just sing along with me, but I also invite you to try to sing one of the rounds. So I'm going to be singing numbers 1, 2, 3, and then 1. So if you want to come in on 1 when I start 2 or something of the sort, it could be fun. So here we go. Do
Thank you, Sam. Give us peace. Our reading today is a poem by Pat Schneider, an author, playwright, and poet who explored writing as a spiritual practice and form of activism. She died in Amherst, Massachusetts, just a few months ago, where her husband had served as a Methodist minister for many years. The poem we read by her today is entitled, excuse me, Instructions for the Journey. The self you leave behind is only a skin you have outgrown. Don't grieve for it. Look to the wet, raw, unfinished self, the one you are becoming. The world too sheds its skin. Politicians, cataclysms, ordinary days. It's easy to lose this tenderly unfolding moment. Look for it as if it were the first green blade after a long winter. Listen for it as if it were the first clear tone in a place where dawn is heralded by bells. And if all else fails, wash your own dishes. Rinse them. Stand at your kitchen, stand at your sink. Let cold water run between your fingers. Feel it. We now come to the time in our service that we set aside for silent prayer and meditation. As they're recorded, we'll not be sharing joys and sorrows during Sunday services this year. But if you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like to share with our community, please join us for our Wednesday Vespers services on Zoom at 7 p.m. when we have a regular time for sharing. And please know I am also here to listen and hold your joys and concerns with you. So don't ever hesitate to reach out and let me know how you are. In a moment, we will enter into a time of quiet. This is a time to reflect on the events of the past week, perhaps, and maybe look forward to what might come in the days ahead, or simply be here now, in this moment, and all that it offers us in sensation and emotion. So won't you join me now by taking a deep, refreshing breath in, exhaling out, letting go of anything that does not serve you at this time, relaxing into your body and entering into a time of quiet. For all that can be expressed, for all that we hold inside, for all that we simply do not have the words to explain. We hear you. We hold you. And we wish you continued joy immediate comfort, a path forward, and the seeds of peace. Amen.
This week's offering is shared with the Maine Prisoner Advocacy Coalition, also known as MPAC. MPAC's purpose is to reduce Maine's use of incarceration by creating a criminal justice system that is ethical, humane, and restorative in nature. The coalition includes, in addition to offenders and their families and friends, organizational colleagues, groups well known for their powerful commitment and continued struggle for human rights, such as the NAACP, wow, ACLU, Maine Council of Churches, and individuals dedicated to social justice and humane treatment of all people. You are invited to make your offering using the donate button in the order of worship. By clicking this link, you'll be taken to Give Butter, a virtual giving site that accepts a card number, PayPal, and Venmo accounts. You may also give your offering by dropping a check in the mail or using your bank's free bill pay feature. This morning's offering has now been requested and will be gratefully received. Thank you.
De noche iremos, de noche.
Mm. Thank you, Sam. Why don't you take another of those refreshing breaths with me right now? Just make some space. Give your body some new energy. And if all else fails, wash your own dishes. Rinse them. Stand in your kitchen at your sink. Let cold water run between your fingers. Feel it. I stumbled upon that poem by Pat Schneider, Instructions for the Journey, on a Wednesday afternoon last fall while preparing for a Vespers service. I'd never heard of Pat Schneider before, nor had her poetic instructions ever crossed my radar. But I have to say, of all the readings I've sifted through and shared with you this church year, it's this poem, in fact, those last few lines, that have lingered with me more actively than any other reading. Probably because, like all of you, I stand at my kitchen sink at least once a day as cold water runs through my fingers, and I feel it. In fact, that line, feel it, has become a mantra of mine throughout these timeless, humdrum, domestic COVID days. Washing the dishes, feel it. Making the bed, feel it. Picking up my phone, feel it. Opening the bag of tortilla chips, again, feel it. Sunday Zoom worship, feel it. As a mantra should, repeating the words feel it focuses my attention and enlivens the present moment at hand, no matter how monotonous it has become. If you too are bored to death of certain quotidian chores at this point in your pandemic year, I recommend making the point to try to feel them as you do them. It might add a little excitement and meaning to your days. Along with its relatability, I'm pretty certain that Schneider's poem resonated so deeply with me because it reminded me of one of my favorite Thich Nhat Hanh teachings. And as some of you know, Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese Zen monk and a prolific and beloved writer, teacher, and activist for peace. In his best-selling book, The Miracle of Mindfulness, Thich Nhat Hanh describes the right way to wash the dishes, which is, of course, to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. I'll let him explain. He writes, I usually wash the dishes after we've finished the evening meal, before sitting down and drinking tea with everyone else. One night, my friend Jim asked if he might do the dishes. I said, go ahead, but if you wash the dishes, you must know the way to wash them. Jim replied, come on, you think I don't know how to wash dishes? I answered, there are two ways to wash the dishes. The first is to wash the dishes in order to have clean dishes. The second is to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. Jim was delighted and said, I choose the second way, to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. And from then on, Jim knew how to wash the dishes. It's a great teaching, right? Last Sunday, during our mid-year meeting, our congregation voted to endorse the spirit of the eighth principle, a new principle in our faith that has not yet been adopted by our whole wide UU association, but perhaps soon will be. The eighth principle calls UUs to dismantle racism and other oppressions within ourselves and our institutions. And We've been talking about big words a lot these past few weeks. Not big as in long and multisyllabic words, but rather big words that are conceptually expansive, important, overwhelming, stirring. Big words like accountable, equity, supremacy, love. The possibility of adding a new principle to our faith is a big deal, sure. But what's even bigger is the call to action of this principle. Almost every word of just the kids' version, which is we must work together for diversity and against racism and oppression, is so big. This morning, the first Sunday of our month of beloved community, more big words there, we could have gone big, dreamed big, envisioned all the possible next steps together and charged one another with taking them. But as you might have noticed though, I didn't title my message this morning, Go Big, though that would have been a good Super Bowl Sunday title. Instead, I titled my message, Keep It Simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yet another helpful mantra these days. And thank you to our board president, Joanna, who has continually reminded me of this mantra, keep it simple, throughout this big and innovative year. And so, yeah, instead of going big, today, let's keep it simple. Let's turn to Pat Schneider, to Thich Nhat Hanh, to the dishes that will be, if they're not already, piling up in our sinks. Why? Because I think an important next step to meet the big call of the eighth principle is to just take a moment and feel it. The miracles of mindfulness are being explored extensively in many realms right now. Workshops on mindfulness are offered in hospitals for both patients and medical professionals. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is used widely in therapies. Schools are funding director of mindfulness and wellness positions. Tech startups are coding mindfulness apps for our phones. And if you Google corporate mindfulness, dozens of hits will pop up for orgs and think tanks offering mindfulness trainings for CEOs, agents, and financial brokers. Mindfulness, though, is another one of those big words that we throw around, isn't it? What do we actually mean when we say mindfulness? Like all big words, it's hard to really nail it down to a singular specific meaning. In his book, Mindfulness, the American insight meditation teacher Joseph Goldstein writes, "Someone once asked me to define mindfulness in just a few words. Phrases like living in the moment and being present give a first intimation of what mindfulness is. But asking, what is mindfulness, is a little bit like asking, what is art? Or what is love?" At this point in the Western world, mindfulness has become a secular practice, but it's rooted in Eastern religions, specifically Buddhism. And from a religious Buddhist perspective, mindfulness is more than a tool used to quell anxiety, or as the organization Mindful on Wall Street states, a practice that's good for business. Fully plumbing the depth of mindfulness, Goldstein continues, requires time and exploration. There is a wealth of meaning and nuance in the experience of mindfulness that can enrich our lives in unimagined ways. There's that word, imagination, in there. In religious Buddhist practice, mindfulness is a mind-body process that requires honing various sets of skills that do more than just calm us down. These skills teach us about the nature of our mind, the nature of our compulsions, the nature of our actions. And ultimately, these practices free us and others from all forms of suffering. Knowing me, I'm sure I'll touch upon the easy and pleasant process of honing these skills down the road. But if you just can't wait to learn about them, I highly recommend checking out Goldstein's very succinct, very readable, yet still 500-page long book, Mindfulness, A Practical Guide to Awakening. Maybe buy it somewhere other than Amazon if you want to purchase it. Keeping things simple today, though, Hill, keeping things simple. Let's return to the moment at hand and the question at hand. Last week, our church committed itself to dismantling racism and other oppressions within ourselves and our institutions. Great. But what do we do now? Feel it. The process of dismantling racism is good and necessary, but it's big, unwieldy, and unclear. You all know that story of the two fish who swim by each other one day, and one says, "Water's nice today, huh?" And the other says, "What's water?" That's the realization required for dismantling racism. It requires seeing, knowing, describing, and feeling the water we are swimming in. Perhaps the only water we've ever swum in. And sure, this might just be me doing my Buddhist thing, but the only practice I can think of that will help me see and feel this water, this white supremacist culture, this society where the needs, the experiences, the ideas, the potential of white people is valued above all other beings. The only practice to help with this is mindfulness. A mind-body practice that will help us learn the nature of our minds, learn the nature of our actions, and ultimately free us and others from suffering. And my friends who are white like me, just a reminder that white supremacy is a form of suffering that affects everyone, no matter their race. On a micro, individual level, white supremacy is what makes us feel so awful when we fail or make a mistake. It's the root cause of shame, of obsessive control, of greed, of competition, of the denial, of messy feelings. On a macro level, white supremacist culture is a culture of dominion, of caste, of looting the earth for capital gain, of the worth of the individual over the whole. Simply put, white supremacist culture is not beloved community. And no, it's not very simple, all of this. And it is very easy to get so overwhelmed in the process of understanding and dismantling racism that we can't really see an actual way forward, a real life doable next step. But you know what is simple? Washing the dishes to wash the dishes. An important aspect of mindfulness that I feel is often skipped over when the practice is used to combat anxiety or enhance our focus is the fact that mindfulness enhances our capacity to be creative, imaginative, even. Why? Because it helps us notice our habits. And when we notice our habits, then we have the choice to stick to them or try something different. Imagine something different. And trying and imagining something different is what it will take to dismantle racism within ourselves and our institutions and build beloved community. Trying something different will show us the water we're swimming in. But my friends, before you send your monkey mind off on the adventure of dreaming up big ideas of something different, we must first do the work of getting to know our habits and our impulses. And yes, there is a whole lot we can learn about ourselves from that pile of dishes sitting in your sink over there. Returning to the guidance of Thich Nhat Hanh on this, he writes, if while washing dishes, we think only of the cup of tea that awaits us, thus hurrying to get the dishes out of the way as if they were a nuisance, then we are not washing the dishes to wash the dishes. What's more, we're not alive during the time we are washing the dishes. In fact, we're completely incapable of realizing the miracle of life while standing at the sink. If we can't wash the dishes, the chances are we won't be able to drink our tea either. While drinking our cup of tea, we'll only be thinking of other things, barely aware of the cup in our hands. Thus, we are sucked away into the future, and we are incapable of actually living 1 minute of life. Poof. My friends, last Sunday we endorsed the spirit of a big call to action that will ask much more of us than just doing our dishes. I know this, but to fortify ourselves, to get clear, to peel back the layers of praise and blame and pride and shame and the overwhelm of our seemingly impossible future yearnings, we have to develop practices in our lives that will help us get to know ourselves, our habits, our impulses, the water we swim in, the miracle of being alive right now. Thank God there's always a pile of dishes to wash. A simple gift to help us practice actually living a few minutes of our lives. A simple gift that we can simply just stand at our sink as the water runs and feel. Blessed be this feeling. Blessed be this minute of our lives. Blessed be the path to liberation for all and the creation of beloved community. Let it be so. Feel it. Our closing hymn this morning is number 16, Simple Gifts. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Pete, who is recording Sam in the sanctuary right now. Thank you, Kai. You did great today. And thank you all for joining us on this Sunday, February 7th, 2021. I will not be coming to coffee hour, but because I'm going to be with JYG, our junior youth group this morning, but all are welcome to join us for coffee hour on Zoom following this service. I'm sorry to miss out on perhaps a lively conversation on what household chores you're going to pick to feel this week. But before we get to our fellowship and our coffee, won't you join me in a time of prayer? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience profound joy and the causes of profound joy. May we all see a way forward. May we all be open to change. May we all feel it every step of the way as we get free. Won't you join me in our unison benediction to close our service this morning? For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Our service has ended, my friends. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.